So these were immensely helpful for me to change my default state from my native language to my target language so that I can learn faster in my target language and engage in a daily conversation more naturally in my target language. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. So when you're speaking your target language with other people, you might find yourself a little bit off because you have always been thinking in your native language, but you're speaking your target language. In other words, those two languages in you are in conflict. So that is why in this video we are talking about how to start thinking in your target language, i.e. we're discussing how to train your brain to start thinking in your target language. If you're new here, my name is Jun and I'm a master's student studying microbiology and liberal arts. And on the side, I like to learn languages such as English, Japanese, German, and Italian. And recently I started learning Latin as well. So before we jump into it, maximizing your exposure to your target language is extremely important for you to train your brain to think in your target language. Since we talked a lot about it in my previous videos, like listening, reading, and speaking, I'm going to skip this step for the sake of the brevity of this video. But I'm going to put the links to the videos down in the description section below, so feel free to go check them out. So this video is broken into 3 steps. Firstly, we're talking about reading aloud in your target language, which is one of my favorite language learning habits. And the second step is to practice what is in your mind and what's around you in your target language out loud. And the third step is to repeat the step 2, but in your brain, in your target language. But before I jump in, I just like to stress that the first 2 steps are preliminary and helpful techniques for the step 3. But it doesn't mean that they're the magic bullets for you to be able to start thinking right away in your target language, even if you master those 2 steps. It also means that step 3 requires its own practice. So let's get started to find it out. So the first step we are talking about to be able to start thinking in a foreign language is to read aloud. It is a very powerful technique for language learning. It has been immensely helpful with my language learning journey in many different aspects. But what I want to stress in this video is that it is a very good way to train your brain to get used to building a story, because we're coming across a lot of descriptive words and sentences, phrases, which are basically what we want to pick up. Don't worry about internalizing those vocabs and phrases you come across or collecting those from day one. Just focus on saying them out loud. I still read aloud in foreign languages, especially English, for 10 minutes every day, which is part of my morning routine. So I already talked about how I read aloud in this video over here, so feel free to go check it out. So I used to read aloud when I was in high school to improve my English and Japanese. I mean, even though there was a pause in my early 20s before I started again, it really helped a lot with my life abroad. So not only with engaging in a daily conversation with the native speakers, but also with starting thinking in my target languages, English and Japanese. So the couple reasons why I think it worked for me is because it gave me a lot of good building blocks that are the descriptive phrases and vocabs in the forms of a story, and I also made myself say them out loud. So I thought that was a great first step to think in a foreign language. So now we're moving on to actually describing what's in your mind or what's around you in your target language out loud. Saying them out loud is a key point here. So what you're doing here is basically creating a habit of talking to yourself and describing things, describing what's in your mind to yourself. If necessary, you can describe the same things over and over again as a practice until you get used to it. It is totally fine to do this exercise to your friends or family, but if you're describing the same things over and over, they might get annoyed. So I would recommend doing this exercise mostly alone. So not only we are applying those descriptive phrases and words that we learned in the step 1 into practice, but you're also telling your brain that this is what you're gonna do in your target language in step 3. In other words, this is a great practical step to train your brain to describe things in your target language out loud. Since you are doing this in your target language, it really helps switch your brain. For example, as an exercise, if I could describe anything around me, so I got this fake plant from Amazon and I'm freaking loving this. And why do I love this? I'm going to describe it because it is adding a nice green environment in my work environment as well as my bedroom, because it's my bedroom over here as well. So that's why I freaking love this. So I'm just saying things out loud in my target language that I love this fake plant. By the way, I would love it if you could hit the like button if you're thinking you're getting some value out of this video. Thank you so much. And let's get into the most exciting step. Step number 3. Repeat number 2, but not out loud, just in your head. Now we are actually thinking in a foreign language. So if you think you can jump right into thinking in a foreign language after those 2 steps, that is great. Try to describe things in your target language as often as possible so that you can incorporate this in your daily life, thinking in a foreign language. I guess your goal is to make it in your default state. But for some of you, it might still be hard to jump straight into thinking in a foreign language even after these 2 steps, which is totally okay, and that is why it requires its own practices. So in this case, I would suggest you take a gradual approach on this. You could start perceiving things in vocabs, not in sentences or not in a story, i.e., whenever you get a chance, try to perceive things, not describing things, but perceive things in your target language in everyday life. For example, I got this water bottle or thermal in English, which is going to be my target language in this video. I'm not going to try to perceive this as 물병 or 보온병, which means water bottle and thermal in my native language, Korean. And I also got this pencil case. I will try my best to perceive this as a pencil case, not 필통 in my native language, which means pencil case, but I'm gonna do these in my brain. I'm not gonna say them out loud because they are 2 separate practices, but in this step, we're just talking about in our head. When you think you're getting used to perceiving things in the form of vocabs in your target language in your brain, you can move on to building sentences in your brain, so with the same vocabs. So I got this thermal, right? So the set is like it's morning, I'm getting ready for my day, let's say hiking, and I could think in my foreign language, looking at this water bottle, do I need to bring this water bottle with me today? Because I think my friend said that he's bringing extra bottle of water, so maybe I shouldn't bring this water bottle. Something like that. Making a habit of thinking about these things in your target language. And when you think you got used to building simple sentences in your brain about what's around you, you could move on to building stories about what's in your mind, what's around you, which is more advanced step than building sentences. But even after these exercises, you might still find yourself thinking in your native language instead of your target language, because it is a really hard thing to do. So I would say you should stick to these 3 exercises in addition to maximizing your exposure to your target language as I talked about in my previous videos. Then eventually you'll find yourself thinking in a foreign language. So those are my 3 tips or steps to train yourself to think in your target language. Thank you so much for watching. I hope they were helpful. I would also love to hear what your thoughts or strategy on this, which is why the question of the day is going to be, what are your strategies to train yourself to think in a foreign language? Or are you still doubting if it's even necessary to think in a foreign language to be able to speak it fluently? Because I can certainly imagine that some people are very good at switching their brains so that they don't have to think about thinking in a foreign language. So please feel free to leave them down in the comment section below to help each other out, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this. And if you think you got some value out of this video, please smash the like button, and if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please consider doing so. If you're struggling with making time for your language learning because you have a full-time job or full-time schedule, you might want to check out a video over here. This is what I exactly discussed in this video. And if you're looking for a way to improve your listening skill, please come check out this video as well. Thank you so much for watching again, and I hope to see you on the other side. Bye bye.